And thank you for taking the time to attend. We know that everyone is busy, and we appreciate you taking the time to attend this morning. My name is Craig Hilburn. I am the newer member of the RSD Customer Technical Support Team. I've had the opportunity to meet some of you, and certainly look forward to meeting more of you soon in the future. So, we wanted to host this session to share the current focus and the development efforts for EOS 360. We also want to solicit your input into product features for the future. More on that from Byron later. As we go through the presentation, we want your questions. So please submit them in the chat, submit them to RSD Presenter 1 on the WebEx, and we will answer them later in the session. We look forward to answering those questions for you. Today I get to tag team with Byron Maynard, whom most of you know. And in our time together, we will review the EOS 360 solution and the feature components of EOS 360. We will talk about some high-level strategies that direct our EOS development efforts at RSD. Then Byron will dive deeper into the features of EOS 360 V2. He will introduce also EOS Consolidation Services, along with some compelling case studies for migrations and consolidations. EOS 360 is developed as a comprehensive output management technology solution to address key challenges in today's dynamic IT environments. And now we'd like to kind of look at some of the key features of the EOS 360 solution. So EOS 360, we have the base product running on ZOS. It's been around for over 40 years. And during that time, we've demonstrated it is a reliable product, and over that time has also enjoyed providing some key innovations as well. And then EOS on open systems, designed for the Windows, Linux, or AIX Unix platforms, has over a 15-year history of reliability and innovation. And then a newer offering, EOS Bridge. Some of you may have had the opportunity to have a demo of Bridge. This product is focused on maximizing hybrid environments, enabling platform migration, and really designed to exploit the power of ZOS while reducing costs associated with that platform. And then EOS Access, secure user access built on the standard web interfaces, built on HTML5, and then on the Google Angular 2 platform, removing reliance on Java at the client level. When we talk about solutions, we really want to focus on optimizing the hybrid environments, which is so true of many models today, infrastructure models, in many organizations. And then reducing cost. This is the message constantly within IT to control and reduce costs. And then finally, also optimize IT resources. So take advantage of the skilled IT staff that you have and optimize those resources so that they're used to their maximum capabilities. EOS 360, I want to briefly review the features of EOS 360. Many of you have seen much of this, but we want to review at a high level. EOS Core is the base server components, and I want to point out that many of the base server components that in the past were separately licensed features are now included in EOS 360. So let's look at some of the components associated with EOS 360. We've divided into 5 modules. So the first is EOS Server. This is the database itself, and then also ISPF, EVT, VTAM, TCP/IP, and then print support. In EOS 360, some of the improvements are the change in the structure of the AMI and providing performance enhancements in both search and restore for archived reports, and then also for the AREP cycle. Significant improvements in that. And then also the automatic spool expand that I think many of you are probably interested in as well. And then we have EOS Process. These are all the modules that are associated with data capture and processing. So the writer, the VTAM capture tool, the ESS, the FSS, the TCT. These are all components of capture and processing the data, supporting multiple formats, including suffixed AFP, PDF, and then suffixed reports as well, as you know. The enhancements in 360 include expanded log information, kind of creating a resume of reports captured, information about the reports captured, and then also the expansion of the FSS to be able to capture and process line mode data. And then we have EOS Access. This is, again, on the new architecture following web standards, HTML5, and then also the Java API. Notice that here we have the base product includes 5 user licenses for the Access client, and then also for the API client. This gives you the opportunity to kind of test it out, do some configuration and things like that, and then when you're ready to deploy, then certainly you can talk to your sales representative about the additional licenses that you would need. Notice also that we are integrating mobile apps so that access to EOS from any device, and then the Outlook add-in, and then also the EOS Spool Manager available via the web. We have EOS Protect, so security, very high, very important priority. Here we have included encryption of data at rest, and then the field masking of data for compliance for PCI and PII mandates, so that you can control what the user sees based on their responsibilities and their role. Finally, EOS Cockpit. This provides insights into the EOS environment. So it's just, if you would, it's information about your information system. So Cockpit processes detailed SMF records, providing them in a JSON format for dashboard reporting, and then also can be integrated into your business intelligence platforms for additional insight into your environment. Now might be a good time to submit any questions you have about EOS 360. We just kind of went through an overview of 360 itself. And then we would like to move into the features of EOS 360 V2. Really would like to ask the question, what drives the RSD product development decision-making process? How do we make decisions about what will be included in the next versions? We look into the strategy used by the RSD development team in the planning process. The focus is on customers and partners. What we want to do is to innovate, to be the output management solution for your organization. Perhaps your organization is focused on growth through acquisition, or perhaps the focus is internal on increasing efficiency through consolidations and through consolidation of other output management products, for instance, to gain additional efficiencies and cost savings. IT infrastructure environments are dynamic and always changing. We all know that. We want to understand and help customers meet that challenge. We want to continue to innovate by making products easier for your end users to use and utilize, easier to support, and provide efficiencies. Do more with less in today's IT departments, which of course is a familiar refrain for all of us. Continue specifically with EOS 360 V2 roadmap, we want to present EOS Access and focus on that for a few minutes. the user access interface provided by EOS Access. EOS Access version 2.0 has a planned release in February 2018. The strategy is to have a replacement for EOS PC and the EOS Thin client that includes all the features now available via connected mode. We began with EOS Access version 1.3, released in April, so earlier this year. There we had transform capabilities, print on server, and then also the iPad application. Hope many of you have been able to see that demo. And then we have an incremental release, version 1.3.2, which is now available, and it supports the deployment of EOS Access in a WebSphere cluster environment using Dispatcher for load balancing. That's version 1.3.2. Version 1.4 has a targeted availability for December 2017, not very far away, and will include support for SSO, so single sign-on with SAML, and also include environment admin functions that are currently part of the thin clients. This is the import and the export of settings set by the administrator. And then version 2.0 has planned availability in February 2018, as I said earlier. And this version will integrate use of the admin tool in the setup of the splits and talk definitions for AFP and PDF reports. This strategy addresses our goals to make access for your user easy. So you can see that we have addressed all platforms and then mobile platforms as well. So we want to make access for your user easy. We want to simplify support and enable access to EOS from any device in a secure environment. Here you can see screenshots from the current environments for EOS PC, EOS Thin Client, and EOS Access. Notice the user interface is updated in EOS Access. If you've not had the opportunity, we'd be glad to arrange a demonstration of EOS Access for you. Access is built on HTML5, is intuitive, very similar in function to Thin Client and PC, but you will want to update user training materials or create a short tutorial for your end users. We could certainly help you do that as well. As mentioned, there are several important user features in EOS Access, including the tool in EOS PC to assist administrators in the setup of split and talk definitions for AFP and PDF reports. This function will be available in EOS Access, replacing the need for EOS PC. I will now pass the presentation to Byron Maynard, who will cover EOS 360 V2 features and then also provide an overview of RSD Consolidation Services. Byron.
Thank you, sir, and good morning to everyone. I get the pleasure of introducing all of you to some of the directions that we here at RSD are working on. So starting off with this first slide, there were three significant areas we focused on in version 2. The first one is basically to assist in the consolidation of competitive products by EOS by increasing the size of the fields in our product today. The second item here, we are addressing the security, in essence, to be able to define what we call a more granular security level as far as what users can do, see, etc. And additionally, the last item here is we have done some work in the auditing fields. People have asked for some additional information, and for the audit files, we're going to be able to trace the end users. Next, please. Again, release May of 2018 is what we're focusing on right now. Now, next. So here is kind of an overview of the increased field lengths that we're presenting. Again, EOS version 2. And it's what I call, here's some news. As we go through these, the 4-character form field ID has now been expanded to 8 characters. This has been requested by a number of our users for some time now. It makes it easier to use the forms management process and also provides what we consider a standardization of the form names by doubling its size. The report name, this field has been increased from 16 to 64. The report description field has been increased from 32 to 128. The recipient name, and notice we have object in quotes there. We'll get to that a little bit later. The recipient name that was used to receive reports and was called a user. This has now been increased from 8 to 32. Now, the thing we want to take focus on here is this is a big change in the product and also a major change to the report index, the forms index, the profile, and the archive files. These have all been increased to support these changes. Accordingly, since these are significant changes in the product, they will be tested thoroughly between December of this year through April of 2018 before the official release date of EOS 360 version 2, which you saw earlier is going to be in May of 2018. In addition to what I've just explained above, we are introducing the concept of recipient. Here, what we're doing is we are merging 2 concepts. The one you used to refer to as users, who are the ones who connect to the product and assigned authorizations. The others are users who receive and have access to their reports. These are the objects. They're in the report index, and you call them a mailbox. Today, they are both called users for us. However, now in EOS 360 version 2, the ones that are used to log in will still be called a user. The ones that receive the reports in the report index will now be called recipients. And this is what will be increased to from 8 to 32 characters. The current users and the recipients with 8 characters will, of course, be in the report index, and they will be converted. This in the future will give you more flexibility when creating recipients with longer names. This also, in this case, has an impact on other features in the products. We have user groups that we will use for 2 things. One, to regroup the authorizations for some users, and the other to distribute reports to many users / mailboxes. So since we have separated the users from the recipients, we will also separate the user groups from the recipient groups. Not a big change for the end users, but for the administrators, that they're going to have some work to do with the separation of the user and the recipients. Next, please. So here's what we've done. In V2, we're going to have the ability to extend user authorizations. What you see from version 1 is the controls that it controls what users can see. For example, here for the number of forms for the different departments, and also provide a limited view of those reports, what some could see and others could not. The form group profile, as it exists today, has only 960 entries. Click, please. Since that's not enough for some of our customers, as most of you know, you've got thousands of forms. In version 2, we've created what we call the extended form group. This can now be used to regroup a number of form groups which have been associated to a user profile. Here we have a new type of profile. It contains not only the form groups, but it contains some authorizations. For example, the viewing, table of contents, delete, print, archive, restore, notepad. They will be assigned to a user group, a user profile as a form group. I know you're going to have questions, so we're going to save questions for the end of the presentation. Next, please. So the other areas is in version 2 that we are addressing is the audit. As you know, we currently cut SMF records. However, what we're going to do for version 2 is in the auditing records, we highlighted, and you see them in bold here, the workstation IP, the session ID, customer bank code. For the workstation IP and the host name, here we're going to address access from all access points by the end users, specifically the 3270 access, API, EOS access, and in version 1, EOS thin client entries will be recorded. We will also take care of accessing information about one specific user. The item that you see here, which is called Customer Bank Code Business Entity, that is the ability for us now to be able to show user access from the various environments. From the list of people who are here, I know a number of you are administrators, so you know when your users go in, some of you have more than one environment that they can access. So previous to these changes, what you would see is just the one entry that they made. What we've increased the audit to do is we now can show we now can report on all of the users accessing multiple environments. Now, for your information, I know most of you are on ZOS. We do have an EOS Open Systems for 360 also. These same audit records are going to be added to EOS Open Systems. Next. So what are we showing you here? We're trying to give you an idea of the upgrade path from where some of you are today, which is EOS 2.1, to eventually EOS 360 and beyond. For those of you who support the product and use the product, these arrows are really showing you a smooth upgrade and transition to EOS 360 version 2. To start off, it's important that you remember that not all versions of EOS 360 will support the old thin client, EOS PC, and the API protocols. What this first arrow shows is EOS version 2.1 and its support for the current client interface. You can also see there that we will continue to support these protocols, thin client, PC, and API, through the end of May 2018, which is really highlighted in red. The next arrow represents what we're showing in Release 360 version 1. The green was the release date of 360. The blue arrow, the blue circle, I'm sorry, is showing you the release date of RSD Access version 1. In EOS 360 version 1, today we'll continue to support the old protocols that were there in version 2.1. As I said, the APIs, thin client, etc. Here is where we at RSD feel is the best upgrade path that allows your user community the ability to use the old protocols, the thin client, PC, for example, and at the same time test the new EOS Access version 1. It's also what we at RSD feel is the best way for you to make that step forward in upgrading from 2.1 to 360. The last image here shows you the red image, and it represents the end of life for 360, which is really 2020. The arrow below, the green image, shows you the release of 360 version 2, and in blue, as Craig mentioned earlier, the release of EOS Access version 2. Now, the point to remember here is that version 2, with its increase in the fields of the forms index, the report index, and the other files that we talked about earlier, this version will no longer support the old protocols from thin client, EOS PC, and the API, which, as you know, sit between the server and the client. It's going to use the new protocols that we're releasing in EOS version 2 through EOS Access and its new Java APIs. Last but not least, these server levels for each EOS 360 are noted in the right, in the upper corner. So those are, not to get you confused, those are server level release. They're not product levels. They're specific server level release comments. So as I said at the beginning of that section, I know you have questions. We'll open it up for questions at the end. But what I want to go through here is some of our consolidation services. Next, please. So I guess the biggest question is, why consider a consolidation project? What are the challenge? The proliferation of output management solutions, and what's the goal? The consolidation of similar products to one solution. Next. Here are three real benefits that we've heard from our customer community that they felt are the benefits of a migration project. Number one, the cost reduction. Reducing the number of products that you have and getting rid of some of those long-time maintenance contracts and license renewals. Training optimization, focusing on, in essence, making sure you have the expertise with a single software product. And last but not least, the capitalization of resources. Those people that were supporting those multiple other environments, output management environments that you have, now can be reassigned to other areas in the organization. You don't have a number of people supporting a number of applications. So again, the focus here is the benefit. We know that there's a possibility of saving over 40% of the total budget dedicated to all of your output management solutions. Next, please. So this happens to be one of my favorite slides, simply because of the list of things on the right-hand side. And I can say, for being here for, as most of you know, quite a long time, we've got an impeccable track record for having successfully migrated some of the largest output management systems out there with some of the largest worldwide companies out there. So we've done it before. I know we will do it again, and we'll keep doing it because we are doing it right. Next, please. The next few slides are really some case studies, a couple from our European community and one here from the community here in the US. This European insurance provider, they wanted to migrate from CA View and Deliver to RSD EOS. What was their objective? Well, their objectives are really kind of similar with everybody. Consolidation of all the management tools and in using the enriched new functionality of a new user interface called RSD. So what did they say? Reading it, the migration was completed very easily thanks to RSD experts. The new report management tool has increased functionality, especially the report segmentation for different communities. That can be addressed via the new web interface, and that's by an IT manager.
Byron, this is Craig.
There we go. Sorry.
Okay.
I think I must have gone off track and hit the mute button. Sorry, folks. If you want to, I'm not sure where we left off, Craig.
We're on the case study for the European bank.
Okay, good. So I'm there. I was talking and you weren't hearing me. Sorry about that, folks. Again, they migrated from BMC Control D to RSD EOS. The objective, fairly similar. Consolidate output management tools, reducing the software licensing, in essence, budget. Again, budget and dollars and cents is what we talk about. Their comment, the pilot project was a great success for us. EOS has enabled us to confidently move forward with the technology from a vendor that has been committed to the IBM mainframe platform for the past 40 years. While at the same time reducing our capital expenditure and operating costs. And this was from the general manager of information technology. And last but not least, we have a major telecom provider here in the US, another CA component migration to EOS. The objective, consolidation of report management tools, reducing the software costs and strengthening their compliance issues. Compliance issues, in essence, focusing on the archives, how long you keep those archives, where do you keep them, with the assurance that you can get the data back. The technical director there, following several consolidations and acquisitions, migration projects were completed using the process and tools provided by RSD. This reduced infrastructure and software costs while providing users across the company a new web-based interface. So as you can see, the message is fairly clear through all of the migration topics and projects that we take on. We can provide you a cost savings by consolidating from all of those other vendors that you're using into EOS. As I said, we've done it before and we'll continue to do it in the future. Next, please. So simply said, we've got an 8-step process for the migration. There's a specific set of steps that I want to go over, and you'll hear me emphasize them when I get to them. The first one is really a questionnaire. Sit down with the customer, find out what their goals are, what they want to achieve, and how quickly they need to achieve that. In essence, finding out the sizes, etc. The discovery composes basically the same thing. Just understand what's in there. The third step, proof of concept. We show you what we can do, we show you how to do it, and how easy it would be to implement into your organizations. Number 4 is really the evaluation of steps 3, 2, and 1. Do we satisfy that? How can we move forward? Once we start to move forward with the migration, steps 5 and 6 are what I call repetitive steps. A migration is not just one step. You just don't go in and migrate everything the first day. We go in, we take the data, we create it in EOS, we ensure that what you're seeing in EOS is what you saw or better in those other product lines. So we just repeat that until we get it right. Once we've gotten it right and we're ready to move ahead, we now move to the user training perspective. That user training means sitting down with the end users and the administrators, making sure they know the ins and outs of EOS, the how-tos, the what not to do's, etc. So that's what the migration process looks to RSD, from the pre-migration to the actual migration to the final implementation of the new software. Next. So I get the opportunity to do kind of a wrap up here. Quickly said, from one of Craig's slides, October 2016, EOS version 1 and EOS Access was released. In Q1 of 2018, EOS version 2 and EOS Access version 2 will be released, and EOS version 2.1 will stop in the second quarter of 2018. Overall global picture. Now, just to summarize what we've gone over today, here is the same slide that Craig talked about before, the EOS server. plus the open systems application with the bridge in the middle of that, which means that you can continue to capture data on the mainframe and move it over into the bridge for viewing to save MIPS, or you can do the hybrid environment that we talked about earlier, where you can use the bridge to migrate everything off of the mainframe server and move everything down to that open systems environment where you have the same thing you saw before. The users don't have to worry about looking at new reports in a new way. They'll still look at it through EOS Access. And EOS Access is there on the bottom, and the Consolidation Services. So if you remember at the beginning, or just a little bit into Craig's presentation, he brought up three things. The creative value through smooth consolidation of output management through EOS. Bottom line, that's EOS 360 and all of its components. The second one, choose the best output management solutions for a hybrid environment. Again, using the bridge, creating those environments, whether you just choose it for viewing or you choose it to do an actual migration, we answer that question very simply. The last one, simplify user access administration and increase effectiveness. Everything is included in V2, version 2, that lets you get that done. All of the features and functionalities are there for your beck and call. So as you can see, all of this really can be yours with a simple call to your sales rep, either Jim Guthrie or John Scagnelli, and what follows is what we feel will be an easy upgrade to EOS 360. So with that, I want to thank you for your time today from both Craig and I, and we're going to open it up for questions. If you sent some questions to Pauline, we'll try to address them. And by the way, you know, we're not just stopping here with version 2. We are already looking at what's going to be in the next version, version 3. So if you have any comments or suggestions about things that maybe you have not seen in the presentation today, or things that you have not heard of between your sales guys and your technical account managers, please feel free to send an email to either Craig at chilburn@rsd.com or myself at bmaynard@rsd.com. We'll talk to you about it, and we'll try to make sure that our engineering group is aware of what you guys and ladies are looking for. So again, thank you for your attendance, and the telephone line or the WebEx line is now open.
Okay, thanks, Byron. I do have a couple of questions. So if anybody wants to ask a question, either you can use the Q&A session or you can unmute your line. I won't unmute you because it will be it will be a little bit difficult to listen to everybody, but you can do it on your side. I do have one first question, and it is, will RACF security be supported on all platforms?
I can take that. Yes, RACF is supported on all platforms. If you're talking about platforms of EOS 360, yes, it will be supported today and moving forward. If you're talking about the open system side, that's LDEP and other types of security packages. But for EOS, yes, RACF is supported.
Another question. How many current customers are using EOS 360 V1?
Worldwide, we have approximately, we have approximately 3 customers that are using EOS version 1 to today. You know, they've been using it for a while now, and they're starting to get comfortable with it. Little bumps and grinds in the beginning, but everything has been running smoothly since the release in September of last year.
Any other questions? I don't have anything. Okay, I did receive additional questions. Are these 3 customers new, or did they migrate from EOS 2.1?
They migrated.
What will be the upgrade process for V1 to V2?
The one thing that we have done in going, I'll start out with version 2.1 of EOS. The upgrade process that all of you have gone through from, let's say, version 2.0 or 1.4 to EOS 2.1 is a simple upgrade. With upgrading to EOS version 1 or EOS 360 version 2, we have kept in place the very simple upgrade process that you've been experiencing in the past. With some of the upgrades in the 360 area, there will be a need for some reorganization of some of the files, as you heard me talk about the Rindex, Findex, AMI, etc. So there may be some unloads, reloads necessary for those files. But the easiest way, for example, to explain this is if you're going from version 1 to version 2, it's about a 12-step process. You download the software, you then install into your environment for test purposes. When you're ready, you have the option to convert the AMI. The AMI has been converted to a VSAM file, so it's self-expandable. So you have the option of converting it when you install, or waiting to a later time. Why you would wait, I don't know, but you want to do everything at once. So that's the only thing you have to do different in version 2.1 to version 1 for 360. Going up to version 2, however, as I explained in some of the earlier slides, because of that increase of the form, the form name, the username, etc., there will be some additional reorgs that will have to be done. But it's the same process that you've been used to in the past.
One question is regarding this slide deck. So yes, I will be sending you this slide, and I also will send you the recording links. So I think there are no more questions, or maybe we give 1 minute. Yes, an additional question. When will the spool expansion set command be working?
We plan to have that, and Craig, you may have a better date than I do. We plan to have that that feature. Today it's working for non-SMS files. If it's an SMF file, there's a little bit of difference in there, so we plan to have it tested and available for V1. I think we're looking at the end of this year, although it's difficult to put in via a EPF, but it will be fully functional for EOS V2 in May of next year.
Yeah, and the only other comment I would make, Byron, would be that so the expand spool is available, and it is also available with SMS if you're using SMS managed storage. There was one component that's associated with, it's kind of in the way that SMS handles multi-volumes, and that needed to be addressed, and that is the part that is to be addressed. You can actually use SMS. There are other keywords and things available, but the multi-volume needed to be addressed, and that's what will be addressed in that version that Byron just mentioned.
Thank you, sir.
An additional question, when does EOS 2.1 support end?
End of June 2018. So if you need to run version 2.1, we would encourage you to move to, obviously, to EOS 360 V1 a very straightforward process to upgrade. We can even give you, we've kind of created an overview of it that's kind of a checklist that we could certainly provide if somebody's interested in that. But extended support would be effective at the end of June 2018 because that's the end of support for EOS version 2.1.
An additional question, if the FSS writer will now handle text, why should we keep our text writers?
That would be a good question.
That's a very good question.
You might want to consider, just depending on your, obviously it depends on your environment, but it certainly has that capability to do that. So that might be something in your environment that you would want to consider doing just to simplify things. I would certainly encourage that.
Right, and just to again add a little bit to that, one of the other features of the FSS is now it can, in essence, capture the data faster. So if you've got large reports that are coming in and being attributed and distributed throughout the environment, you might want to send those larger reports to the FSS and just keep your writer to do the daily, not so important reports and things like that. But again, as Craig said, it's totally up to you to determine how you want to configure that.
And I would add that resume, I don't know if folks on the call if they haven't had the chance to see an example of the additional information that's available in the log. It is really nice, especially if if you're doing problem resolution, it's really nice to be able to look in there and see, okay, this is what was just processed. It's a little bit more specific so that you have more information. You don't have to do as much kind of sleuthing. I used to call it sleuthing, where you kind of have to put on your Sherlock Holmes hat and try to figure out exactly what was going on at that moment in time.
Okay, thanks. We received additional question. We are already late with the time. So what we'll do, I will collect the question. I will send them to you, our experts, and we will get back to everybody that answer and ask questions. Thank you, everybody. And I will be sending the slides as I mentioned. So thank you for attending this call. Thank you to Craig and Byron. And I hope that it was useful for you. So thank you, everybody. And bye-bye.
Thank you.
It's our pleasure.